Hello, Coeur d'Alene. We're here today with one of your candidates that's running for mayor. Mr. McEvers is currently our mayor of Coeur d'Alene. So welcome.
Well, thanks. And
Thank you.
Mr. McEvers is my dad? You just call me Woody? I
Woody
get
McEvers.
confused. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And we're going to ask him a few questions and so that you can get to know him a little bit better leading up to the election. So I think this will be helpful.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
This is quite the adventure, I have to say.
Oh, okay, good, good. Question number one is, why are you running for office?
That's a good question, too. I had
Again.
to stop and think about it. Yeah. Well, I think when I dumb it all down, I have kind of approached life from a real positive, collaborative way. That's just who I am. And as mayor, that hasn't changed. I've found that it's different from being on council. Council, you kind of pick and choose what you're interested in and what you like and what you want to learn about. Whereas the mayor, it's like I kind of step out of that and you get the bigger picture. It's fascinating from inside, watching how it works with all these ideas coming in and thumpers, people wanting things and just different things. It's a different perspective. I think for me, being positive is just, it carries me through it. I don't understand everything, but by at least approaching it in a way that, well, we can figure this out. The staff there, the leadership that actually does the work is amazing. They're cheap. I ask them questions about money all the time, and I always enjoy that they're thinking out of the box. They're always trying to figure out better ways and more efficient ways to do things. So that's kind of what got me. First off, I got appointed, and I wasn't planning on it, but then being part of it for a while, it's, I could do this. I think I could bring a little something to it, besides a lot of years on board, but from a different perspective. Because of the restaurant world where I come from, those are my roots. They're the people. The common folks that don't have their hand out or don't expect anything or don't want anything, the ones that appreciate what we do, all the little things the city does. So that's kind of been my inspiration to throw my hat in the ring for this, because I'm in my late 70s now, so it wasn't like I needed another job, But hopefully, if it's meant to be, that's how I look at it. I look at things positively, and that's who I am,
Great. Well, thank you. And then question number two, what are your top three priorities should you be elected again?
That was interesting. I kind of combined, because I had four.
Okay.
And I
That's
pushed
fine
a
too.
couple together. So, again, real basic stuff. This isn't big hoopy-dahs. I'm always trying to find a path to make our city better. And most of that comes from being on board for quite a few years. I was on planning and zoning for a while, and it was always interesting to learn new things. And so I think I've watched us get better. I've watched us grow. I've watched us fail. And that encourages me. I was a part of it. Not that I had the answers, but I think that's a big part of it. Keep it going, keep it positive, keep looking for better ways to do it. Also, I appreciate the city has this interesting, to me, appreciation from its history. It's gone through a lot. I've gotten to serve under 4 different mayors over the last 30 years, because I started just in little committees and just being a restaurant guy downtown, it was interesting to learn things. So those lessons that the city learned from hard times, good times, it's my perspective on the vision of how we got where we are. And there's ups and downs on that too, but I'm looking at all the positive things. The other one is keeping communication positive and collaborate with people when there's issues. I find that when you pull people together, you don't have to have the answers. Everybody contributes and you find compromise, and gosh, life looks pretty good. You can't make everybody happy all the time, but you can certainly bring them to the table and kind of listen to their perspective on it. Sometimes they come up with little things that somebody didn't come up with, especially in government, because all the people that work there are all highly educated, and you know, that's what they focus on. We're just regular folks. You know, you get elected and then you get to ask questions and compare things all the time. And then the other thing, again, it's pretty much about the communication. You know, it's keep moving forward, looking for better ways of doing things, and that's just who I am. So those kind of corny, they're not big issues, but I think it's a pathway. That's kind of how I look at life. I'm here to learn.
Yep.
And this is pretty fun, you know.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Okay, so question number 3 is, I think one of the most important things for most people living in the area. What are your recommendations to mitigate the impact of growth that growth is having in North Idaho, including roads, schools, healthcare? You know, we can go on to police and fire departments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that has been interesting. Again, probably the biggest impact that I can see, because I go so far back when we didn't have growth and we were slowly dying, when the lumber mills went away and the mining in the Silver Valley went away. Those were we were a blue collar town. I remember I came in '77 and working in restaurants, got to know people, and in the winter I came to Spokane because there was no work, because there was no people. So having been there, there's this wordage they've used is, if you're not growing, you're dying. And it always feels kind of weird to say it, but I can understand how you have to kind of keep moving forward. People want to be here. I think the biggest thing I approach right now is, I think that communication side, we need to create a relationship with our legislators. They keep, I like to think they're doing it from their perspective the right way, to try and cut money, we don't need it, the cities are fine, and give it to everybody, the leftovers. And it's impacting us. You know, urban renewals, you don't have to agree with the concept, but we've used it quite a few times in Coeur d'Alene. I think we were the first city in the state to use URDs, as they're called. And the idea is, it was a piece of dirt that wasn't in the city, so there was no taxes coming from it. So what they did is they kind of borrow money, and then the developers come in, build the streets, build the apartments, do the infrastructure, do the investment. It's their nickel. And then the increment, which is the taxes as people start paying taxes, this goes 25 years. So that money keeps getting reinvested and paid back. And then at the end, guess what? We're supposed to be paid back, because during all those years, our fire department's there, our police department, our ambulances, our streets go in there and paint and clean and push snow and do all the things you would think in the city, but on our taxpayers' nickel, not the folks that are there. So the idea is, when they close, we're going to pick up another $2 million a year. Well, that's paying for growth in our eyes, and they've been chipping away at that over the years, and we don't have probably a great relationship with them. That's gotten political. Back in the old days, you know, you used to have breakfast with them. You would you'd go down to Boise and talk to them and say, hey, can you help us with this? Have you thought of this? And, you know, just telling people to do things isn't the most productive. It's telling the story, why and how. Because I like to think they don't do it on purpose. But that's a big part of the future here, because it's getting tough. You know, this last year was a tough one for us, because your employees are worth more. It costs more to live here. I mean, all those things going, and, you know, we don't like raising taxes. And when they are, even when we do, they're not significant. When they say, 3%, no, it's not 3% of what you're already paying. So just some things. Keep working on controlling expenses. The department guys are lean and mean, and we just hold them down to it. You know, is there better ways of doing things? Everything in government costs money. And technology, we need more of it, but guess what? It's scary. They come in and hurt you and take your stuff and get your information, and it's like, what's more important, another policeman or some kind of protection for the internet or something, techie stuff? Because everything now is computers. Everything is all that. So that's probably the biggest thing, I think. I think we're working on it. We'll be constructive. And then if the legislature doesn't anything, we cut back. And what do you want to give up? Parks? You want to give up police? Or, they've got a big hierarchy in our public safety world that comes from way in the past, is if you call, we come. And that's why sometimes you'll see an ambulance at somebody's house and there's a fire truck. Because sometimes there's only 2 guys on an ambulance, and that can be, you need more people, so everybody's worth it in my mind, and that's the way it is in the city. Everybody cares about the citizens. They are the citizens, So hopefully that doesn't sound too corny, but it's kind of just my kind of dumb it down to make it work, and keep working positively for it, and maybe something good will happen.
Great. All right, and the next one I think is a really hot topic. So it is the continued increase in property taxes is a concern for most homeowners. What are your suggestions on how to pay for city services needed while trying to maintain lower property taxes to ensure that the homeowners can afford to stay in their home?
I gotcha. I think the biggest part of the way Idaho taxes is it's a little different. It's about valuation. Well, the house I bought in 1990 was a 100-year-old house downtown. It's got history and stuff, and I think I paid $90,000 for it. Well, but that was 30 years ago, right? I mean, it's all relative. And I just remember that was a big deal to finally be able to invest in a house. I was a late bloomer, Took a lot of years to get there. But being on the government side of it, you see how lean and mean they are, kind of talking about growth. They do take their business very seriously about the expenses and try and do things more efficiently is kind of the best. But, everybody wants to know how fast they're going on the street. And those signs that tell you to slow down are $6,000. Oh, and they're not electric, they're batteries.
Right.
And we have winter. There's just all these little things that are cool to have, and lights that work better. That's where we're putting most of the efforts now, is in technology. We can't widen the streets. We're not going to tear out sidewalks. We're not going to, so it's making traffic flow. But the taxes is like, we try and do more with less. That's really what it comes down to. The schools have their own world. They have their own tax item line, but we've always had relationships with the schools through our parks. We use their gymnasiums for the kids and all the things. So there has been relationships there. Also, we've gotten relationships with ITD and the other cities. We all kind of collaborate on ice melt, the juice they put on the streets to keep the ice down. And our guys are all into it, making it better, and the more you can make, the cheaper it gets. So our relationships right now are with NIC, the school boards, ITD's trying it, some of the highway districts. We make it, they buy it, and that covers our costs. We can't make money in the city, it's costs. But when you can help others, I like that part of the business. I have this little math thing I did just to kind of get you. It dumbs it down to my level as being a restaurant guy. How much is an egg? How much is a straw? Things like that. So my last house value is $550,000. I think I put a roof on it in those 30 years and did some little things, but nothing to make it worth that. It's because the new houses make everything more expensive. So I looked at it was worth $550,000. The state tax deduction, they give you $125 off. So your valuation that you're being taxed on is $425,000. Well, my tax end up being like, I break it down to $86 a month increase. And then how much a day? $2.87. That's like less than a cup of coffee in my world. And so I look at that and I go, God, I'm getting a raise, $2.87 a day. What do I get? I get police, I get fire, I get EMS, I get parks, I get street, I get snow shoveled, leaves picked up. When the leaves fall, we come and get them. We got a beach right in our town, a white sandy beach. Oh yeah, and we got Tubbs Hill and parks and all those things. So I try and look, again, I'm that positive guy going, what do you get for what you spend just in the city? Don't count the county taxes and all the other road taxes, things like that, but what do you get for your city dollar? And that's where I feel, $2.82, that's not a bad year, and we work to keep it like that. So I don't know if that's a good answer, but it helps me understand the way it's made. We don't have much control over how they assess, that's county, or how they put value, and why would value be based on your taxes? When the guy down the street builds $1 million house and it affects me, wait, I'm not doing anything more, right? So, I don't know, a little corny, but...
It makes sense.
Yeah, it's that simple, huh?
Good answer. Okay, and the last question is, what is your background and how will it help the city should you be, in your case, re-elected?
Well, I told you I was a restaurant guy from the 70s and connection with the people. And still today, I hear goods and bads. I hear issues that people have. Sometimes they come up with ideas and I go, wow, write that down and take it back. It's just regular people is most of my contacts. They're not the high rollers. They're not the rich guys. They're not the Mercedes-Benz and gold American Express cards. They're blue collar, working truck drivers, contractors. That's what we feed. We try and be reasonably priced and old school. No fancy, no chef in the kitchen. This is real cooks. But I think that and being from council for 20 some years and kind of learning about everything, I would spend time with the snowplow. You ever ride in a snowplow? Let me tell you, you'll look at the world totally different forevermore, right? And going out with the crews, and I went out on the paving crew. I like to spend time with the guys and girls. What did they do? Spend a day. I got to go through some skyscrapers with the building inspector just to see what do they see, what do they look for. So to me, it was just fascinating. It's like, God, they let me come along, ride in a fire truck, ride with an ambulance. Oh man, you become so grateful for the services we have. We show up at a guy's house and pick him up off the floor. It's something so simple, and then you're saving somebody's life the next call. It's like, what could be more rewarding? And I think that's a big part of why I'm putting my hat in the ring. I don't know everything, but I just love learning it. And hopefully tell stories. I'm a big one for telling stories, as you can tell. Because it's somehow you get a relationship with people recognize, they go, oh, I didn't know that. That's cool, or God, that's a dumb thing to do. And I get it. We can't make everybody happy. But, I'm positive, I'm collaborative, and that's not going to change whether I win or lose, I'll go on and sit on the beach and be the old guy making sandcastles down there.
There you go. That sounds good.
Oh, I don't know if that answers the question.
It does. Thank you for that.
You're not laughing at me, so.
Well, the sandcastle part, because I can relate.
See?
Coming from Southern California, the beaches,
That's
and I
right.
enjoy
I hear
making
you.
things with the sand. So, anyway, lastly, is give us your closing statement. Anything that you think the public would appreciate getting to know more about you.
Well, if they haven't known about what I just talked about, I look forward to serving this community and the people in it. Again, I've talked about being positive and approaching things in a kumbaya way, bring people together and let the smart ones talk, and I just love the ride. I love what we do in our city. I'm proud of it. I've seen some bad things, our fire thing that we went through, and they came to me, you should be making a statement. I'm going, no, this isn't about me, this is fire. You know, let the fire guys, and it was amazing to see what the community, how the community stepped up. And you know, I go back to when the Nazis came down the street, you know, and I think they tried, I think I was on planning and zoning or something, but they tried to say no. Oh, you start messing with rights, and I remember the classic thing the city did that always felt good. Right behind them, there was like 15 of them, 2 cars, and street sweepers.
Oh.
Right behind them, you know? And that was a kind of a quiet message that, you know, this isn't right, and we don't have to agree. And I think that's the beauty of this city, is we've got some ups and downs over the years, but we always kind of stayed in the middle, you know. I always remember the term gentle touch, and it's something that's always stuck with me from back when the old timers were here, and the way they approach things as an issue. You don't start screaming and hollering and right and wrong, you just, let's work it out. So I think that's a good way to go through the future. I mean, I'm sure some of these guys know everything, you know, and a methodology. And maybe we have some things in common, but it's mostly, I like being out there, you know. It's fun to go to graduations, and you don't have to do anything but just being there. They think it's so cool. The mayor's here. That's weird to me. You know, it's just different. I didn't need that, you know. I got a restaurant. I got to keep my head down, right? Make sure people are happy, and I can't help. That's just the way I am.
Great. Well, thank you for letting us know a little bit more about you. We appreciate you joining us.
All right.
It's a pleasure meeting you in person.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Well, there you have it. This is your candidate, and get ready to vote November 4th. Thank you.